Hello, everybody. I am back in DeKalb, Illinois, at the Stagecoach Players Theater to see the SpongeBob SquarePants Musical. This is a show that a couple months ago was playing at a high school about 5 minutes from my house, and I was not feeling motivated to go that day, so now I have driven over an hour to see it here. So, lesson to me, I should have just gone. But I wanted to see this show, so I knew I had to make it out at some point. When I opted not to see it before, I was like, I know there are other places nearby doing this. I just didn't remember specifically where. But I've only been to this theater once, so I'm gonna sit on the opposite side today, so that'll be good. And yeah, I don't really know anything about the SpongeBob SquarePants musical, except for maybe vaguely things about the guy that played SpongeBob being with Ariana Grande, who was in Wicked, but that's about all I got. I don't know anything about the story or the plot or the songs, or if there are any unique characters that are added, so pretty excited for this, and I'm gonna get going. Are you ready, kids? I can't hear you. Okay, it is time to talk about the SpongeBob Musical. Apparently, I called this the wrong thing in my intro portion. I called it the SpongeBob SquarePants Musical. The program that I got just calls it the SpongeBob Musical. When I looked it up, it's called SpongeBob SquarePants, the Broadway Musical. And it says, according to Wikipedia, that this was the original title of the show when it came out in 2016, but that it has since been changed. So, I don't know. I don't know how many SpongeBob musicals there are. I did look at the synopsis and the musical numbers list to make sure that that wasn't a different show. So it seems like the title of this show is a bit confusing. Quick shout out. I did get an actual will call ticket. It's not a fancy ticket. It's not themed to SpongeBob, but it is a nice quality physical ticket that I got to keep. I always like that. I have a number of problems with this show. Some minor, some major, but that would take a very long time to get into, and I don't want that to take away from the production of the show that I saw. So I may be making another video where I go through my issues with the plot and the characters in this show, and how I would fix them without changing the actual story too much. If I do that, it's going to take me a lot of time, and it's going to be a very long video. So I don't know for sure that I'm going to do that, but my brain has been kind of working on it in the background since seeing this show, because even though it's a silly kid show about a cartoon, there's a lot of problems that I have with it. And I'm not, familiar with every single iteration of SpongeBob, but it's clear by the references and the quotes in this show that this is very heavily inspired by the early seasons of SpongeBob, which I am familiar with. I've been rewatching season 1 over the last several weeks. I put the episodes on before I go to bed, and I fall asleep to them, and then I backtrack and play them throughout the day as I'm doing other things. So not only did I grow up with them, but the last couple weeks I've been re-familiarizing myself with them. I've been getting full episodes of SpongeBob on my TikTok feed and watching most of them. So this is something that I have a fair amount of experience with this era of SpongeBob. And I think I've been trying to think about it, and I meant to go through and actually look at all the programs, but I forgot. I think this is the first show that I've seen that's based on a TV show that I'm familiar with. Because I've seen the Addams Family musical, but I'm not familiar with the show. And that's really the only one I could think of offhand that I've seen that's based on a TV show. I wanted to go see the Gilligan's Island show, but I didn't make it there. So I don't know for sure that that's true, but at least at this scale, I think it's true. So I'm going to make a whole other video that's going to be focused on what you could call my negative reactions. But this production was very, very good. There were a few things that I would have done differently. I got a few costuming decisions that I would have made differently, and maybe some different focus on staging and props. But those are pretty small and pretty subjective. But at one point I started making a list of all the different craft elements in this show, because they were all merged together very, very, very well. So I'm just going to go through my list here. I almost never bring in my notes from the show when I do the video, but I really wanted to make sure I hit most of these. I mean, the singing was really good. I didn't particularly love the music of the show, the songs themselves, but the cast sang really, really well, including their harmonies. Their harmonies were really, really strong. The balance in the sound system was really, really good. That's something that a lot of shows I've seen have struggled with. So really good singing. The costumes, like I said, there were a couple of decisions that I would have made differently, but the costumes were really good. They served the characters, and particularly in the ensemble. The costumes that the ensemble wore did such a good job of highlighting them when they needed to be highlighted, but not drawing focus from more important characters. A lot of costume changes. I've seen quite a few shows that have quite a few costume changes, but there were a lot of costume changes in this show for the ensemble specifically. I think the numbers that they had allowed them to divvy that up really well. I think that was really well managed. Also, they had a lot of blacklight elements going on with the costumes. So sometimes the lights would go down and different elements would glow. And it was kind of this cool effect that doesn't necessarily translate one-to-one to like underwater, but like it was otherworldly that I think really helped a lot of things pop. The dancing, the choreography was really good. I've talked about this a lot, that like I don't particularly care for extended dance breaks. There were 2 extended dance breaks in this show. One of them I didn't care for, during Plankton's song, because in that scene he's supposed to be hyping up this crowd, which is one of the problems that I have. The crowd should not be listening to Plankton, but he's hyping up this crowd. He's trying to get them to like go along with his plan using song. And then there's just this weird, pointless dance break in the middle. And like the dancing was fine, but it kills the momentum of the scene. So I wasn't a fan of that. Later in the show, in one of Squidward's songs, it's kind of taking place in his mind as he's struggling with his feelings of inadequacy and his desire to be recognized for his talent, and his not anger, but his depression at like not ever being given that. And so there's quite a long sequence with other characters that are all in his mind, and there's a tap sequence, and like I don't really care about tap all that much. I feel like usually when I see tap, it's not done very well. And like, these were kids, so it wasn't the crispest, super cleanest thing I've ever seen, but like it was pretty good. And it fit the scene, it fit the moment, it fit the character. So, much to my surprise, this extended tap dance sequence without any lyrics in the middle of this song, that I actually enjoyed. I thought that worked really well. But like, even aside from the extended dance breaks, just like all the choreography between the main characters and the ensemble characters, the the timing with props being brought on, handed on stage, taken off stage, like really really good control of just the movement of everything, the placement of everything within the stage and beyond the stage, um, the stage presence, like when they had the mid curtain closed versus when they had it um, opened up. They had a projection screen, a really wide one, in the far back of the stage. So sometimes they had the front curtain closed, so you didn't see that. I've seen a couple shows that have used a projection stage or a projection screen. This one, like I said, it blended in the most seamless out of all the ones that I've seen. It really enhanced the physical things that they did have there without becoming over reliant on the screen. It helped to tell the story. It wasn't just there to put up, AI pictures of different settings. It was used dynamically and and interactively with the story. Um, I've seen many shows where the aisles are used. This one was another one, but again, just like all these different elements combining so well. Sound effects. They had this is a little strange. This is one of the things that like maybe I would have done differently. They had a crew member credited as the Foley artist, which I had to look up, which is the person running the sound effects. And she was on stage pretty much the whole show. She wasn't a character. She had kind of a costume, but she was like behind this like submarine set thing. And like they acknowledged her once in one line in a song that I think some people missed because I heard other people talking about it during the intermission. Like, who's that person in the submarine? But she was just there. She was behind the curtain, so whenever the curtain was closed, the mid curtain, you couldn't see her. But a lot of the show, the curtain was open, and she was just there on the side of the stage. So like the placement was kind of weird. And I get that like she needs to be able to see. It's not like the pit orchestra. She needs to be able to see the actors to do all the sound effects. But I'm like, why wasn't she up at the light booth or something like that? I don't know. But her placement aside, having someone doing live sound effects cued to the characters was interesting. And it's one of the things that like, if I've seen that before, I haven't noticed it. I'm sure I've seen it before. But like maybe that's why they wanted to have her on stage, just to bring more attention to the art of that and the craft of that. But like that was made me really pay attention to the sound effects as a separate entity from the music. But the live pit orchestra, again, they were backstage, so they weren't visible, but like really really good. I've heard different levels of pit orchestras in the shows that I've been to, but they were really, really tight. Their cues and entrances and exits and stuff like that were all timed really well to the actors on the stage. That's what that the Foley artist, at first I thought she was the piano player and that the pit was near her and could see her, and she was, because sometimes in a pit, like the conductor will see the actors to give them cues and things, and then the pit is down below. So I thought that's what was going on at first, was that she was out so that she could give cues to the actors and things like that, and then the rest of the pit was off stage looking at her. But I don't think that's who she was. I think she was the sound effects person. But anyway, the pit, really, really good. A lot of these songs have like stops or cuts or little breaks so that someone can make a little joke or something like that, and then you get back into it, and like it was pretty seamless. It was really really good. The timing was really really good. The balance was really really good. I heard it's a where did my program go? It was a big pit. Some pits are only a couple of instruments, but like this is a big pit, and there's even some people that they left out. It's like a lot of instruments and a lot of characters singing, especially in the ensemble scenes. There are a lot of moving parts there, and we're all balanced really, really well. The sets weren't super expansive, but like I think they did a really good job of choosing what do we need to physically have here, that we need to physically interact with, and what can be handled by the projection screen. Get down! Get down! She's up on the shelf where she's not supposed to be. Midnight, get down. 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 If I move, she's going to get down. Get down. She called my bluff. She didn't get down. Okay. She got down. I had to actually get up off the couch, not just move. But yeah, really good decisions of what to physically have there, what to use the projection screen for, and how to mix those. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but like they're different elements, right? It's one thing to say they use the projection screen well, and it's another thing to say they use the physical elements well, and then it's another thing to say they combined them well, right? So I'm really trying to hammer home the strength of this production in particular. I already talked about the harmonies and the balance of the singing. The ensemble, I mean, there were kids at least as young as second grade, going into second grade in the ensemble, and there were also elderly people, huge age range, and it seemed like there was a pretty wide range of ability, and again, like just the way they divvied up who did what, it was just, it really shows that they knew the talent they were working with, and they worked with the talents that they had. I don't know how to explain it. Like, again, going back to the tap scene, like, you know, like I said, they were kids, so it's not like the most amazing thing ever, but like, they all clearly knew what they were doing. They all did a really good job. It was clean. It was pretty tight for. There wasn't ever anything where it's just like, oh man, that one actor, it's kind of dragging it. Like, everybody was used to their abilities and not kind of put into a situation where they had to do something that they weren't quite able to do. So like, just really good management of everything. At a couple times they had handheld lights that like you wouldn't know that they were carrying, and then like the lights go down and they bring up all these lights, and it's all these different colors and all the underwater scenery, and so it was really, really cool. And then there were also some miniatures that they used, because the plot involves SpongeBob and Sandy and Patrick climbing a volcano, and so when they look down to see Bikini Bottom, there's one part where they had a little diorama type thing of SpongeBob Street, and they had, I don't know if they were Lego or what, but like really small versions of the characters that they were making fight and argue and do different things. And like, it was very funny, but like, that means it was well done, because if it wasn't well done, it wouldn't be funny. It would just be weird. So, like I said, I'm probably going to do another video where I complain about the show, the story, the plot, the characters, the things that this production were not in control of. But I wanted this video to focus on this production, because the other show, I've only seen one show at the Stagecoach before, and I did not enjoy it. Like, I didn't like the story, I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the music, I didn't like almost anything about it. And I was just like, you know, I'm glad that now I've seen a much better experience. Even though I don't like the plot of the show, the performance was amazing. And I was laughing a lot. I was constantly writing notes about things that I was impressed with, as well as things that, you know, in the story didn't make sense. But like, very, very good production. I'm really glad that I got to see another show at this venue, and it tells me that regardless of the material, that the talent, and I keep using the word management, but you know, there's a stage manager, choreographer, musical director, like all these different components coming together is huge. And this is the 41st show I've seen this year. And in terms of combining all these different separate crafts and separate art forms and separate abilities into the one unified art form of musical theater, this is the best example of that I've seen this year. Aladdin did it very, very well. Matilda did it very well. But this one, I think, just with how much was going on and how seamless it all was, I really think this was the best combination of all of those elements into one unified product. And that even though I didn't enjoy the story, I enjoyed the experience, I enjoyed the show a lot. So, hopefully, I've gotten that across. I don't want to just keep saying the same thing over and over. I will say, once again, I feel like reading the director's note, which was a full page, did me a disservice because she references different elements of the show that made her, feel this or change her mind about it. And like, as the show is happening, I'm like, really? That's the part? So I need to just stop reading those until the show is over, or at least during intermission or something. But that aside, if you want to come back for the rant, keep your eyes open for the rant. That's going to be probably an hour long or more, I would guess. But I wanted to give them their own time, to tell them they did a good job. The production was really good. And any issues that I have with the show itself, I do not put on the Stagecoach Players Theater. So, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.